Alright, thank you for coming back to the Nexus. And today's mental crusade is going to be about working out or heaving steel specifically because working out general fitness is a broader spectrum of ideas as opposed to lifting weights. So I've lifted weights for seriously lifted weights for almost 2 years, about a year and 3/4. And I've made a lot of progress. When I started, I was about 163 pounds. Right now, I'm about 180, but I'm pretty lean at 175. And pretty much all the weight I've put on is muscle. Although in the beginning, my primary goals were to put on muscle and look a certain way. Now I have more of a strength focus that I've been integrating, and uh, kind of a it's kind of like power building, but I don't feel like I'm strong enough or have the stats enough to really call myself a power builder. But I sort of have a routine similar to something like that. So um, yeah, and I mentioned in the first video, I'm much stronger in my upper body. Some of my goals currently, um, at 188 or 179.6 pounds, I bench 265. I want to bench 275 at 175 pounds. I want to squat 315 this summer, and then I want to deadlift. I don't really care, 405. That's my last focus. Um, now yeah, and you can tell my legs are weaker. I do have long femurs, makes it a little bit hard for me, and I have extremely small hands, but my ring finger, it's got a everything bagel seat kind of weirdly wedged there. My ring finger is bigger than my pointer fingers on both hands by a good proportion, which should mean that I was exposed to more testosterone in the womb. So it's not the hand size that counts, it's the finger proportion, apparently, according to science and stuff. But so weightlifting. Um, sorry to kind of like not make the video. Just that was a lot of talking about myself, but I thought it was important to show some credentials of myself. But before that too, before I started seriously lifting weights, I did a lot of calisthenics and I did try to stay in shape. I used to be pretty fast when I was younger, and now I can still sprint fast. I don't run very much. So when it comes to weightlifting and putting on muscle, whatever your goals are, it doesn't. It's going to be different, I think, exactly for everyone. For me, I kind of mentioned how I first wanted to look a certain way, and I wanted to get stronger. But if you, a lot of these goals are going to take in the idea that you want to build muscle mass and strength, perhaps. But with muscle mass, strength will inevitably come. But you can accelerate your rate of strength gains if you train certain ways. Usually, heavier weights, lower reps does do the job pretty well. But I'm not trying to go into any sort of specifics here. And fitness and lifting is always a changing subject, like a lot of things in the modern day. A lot of new studies and stuff find, like research, find that a different way of working out may be more effective than a more primitive way. But in truth, as long as you're using correct form, or even just form that you're not going to hurt yourself with, which is usually correct form, um, and you consistently do it, you will make progress, especially if you've never tried to lift. So something that I'd say to keep in mind is um, consistency. These are the staples of working out, lifting. If you want to put on muscle, you want to make strength gains. Um, and I'll talk about cutting down after a little bit. But if you want to put on muscle and make strength gains, um, three things, the number might change, that I feel like are always going to be, generally speaking, true is one, eating. Eating is very important. If you eat more, you will become larger. Some people say I can't gain any weight. This is something you hear a lot, and then everyone always says eat more. I don't know how much depth people go into that, but it is very true. If you feel like you cannot gain weight and you ate so much, you actually need to eat more. You need to eat sometimes if you burn weight fast until you feel like you're going to throw up. It's not necessarily too healthy, but it will get you to gain weight. So eating more will get you bigger. Um, but if you're not working out, and especially if you're eating primarily unhealthy foods or like sugary, fatty foods, it's gonna get you fat if you're not, especially if you're not working out. So when you lift, what's important is that you do it consistently. If you're doing it, I'd say at least if you're just starting, even just doing it 3 times a week is most just doing it at some sort of rate 3 times a week. Even if you're just starting out, you're gonna make progress. But if you truly want to make progress, I'd suggest doing something like a 4 to 6 day split. So maybe you lift weights every other day, or you lift weights 5 days a week, take the weekend off, or you lift 6 days a week, take Sunday off. And, it can get more complicated than that, especially as you go. It's one of those things that, just like YouTube for me, I'm just filming one shots right now. It's going to be simple at first, but then, like, if you want to get a camera, or, you want to get your bench press up specifically, you got to look into how to do that. Bench pressing is maybe the exercise I understand the most. That's why I brought that up. But you will get better at all these things if you just consistently work out. Of course, you want to work out your whole body. If you're going to expect to be better at squatting, you can't just do bicep curls all the time. You want to have some sort of diversity. So learn exercises for each muscle group on the body. The standard ones I'd say that are the most important to learn is chest, biceps, triceps, core, quads, hamstrings, and I still think of all these other ones as important, but those are like the standard ones kind of. Then you got calves, traps, all the like different lats, all the different muscles on the back. Forearms is something that's important. I have actually very naturally like weak forearms. This is what my arm looks like. I don't know. It's not very this is really bad lighting. Um, I've been doing a lot of rear delts. I got embarrassed for some reason doing that. But so there's a bunch of little muscles and stuff, but basically, if you do a circuit that involves primarily pushing motions, so like push pull legs is one that works, or the Arnold split, anything like that when it comes to lifting. Um, Chest, triceps, you can do one day. Back, biceps, you can do another day. You can do legs all together as a general day, do something for each. But as you go, you're going to find more specifics. And I'm sorry if that was a lot of information, but to go into a more important area of this, I'd say when you work out over time, something you discover, and I haven't been doing it very long, but something you discover is there are things that you are going to enjoy more or that work better for your body. And that's good. You'll learn to understand your body. You'll learn when to push yourself and how to. Those are things that you can't exactly teach. You have to teach yourself. You have to learn on your own. I notice I respond better to longer rest times. I mean, there's science behind a lot of this, but just for your mentality to like keep working out and doing that sort of thing, you're gonna want to have various, ideas about these sort of things. Excuse me, I burped. Sort of. So like when you're like I notice I've gained a lot of mass from compound lifts, so I focus on compound lifts somewhat, especially squat and deadlift or squat and bench right now. But maybe you find you respond better to some sort of calisthenics like pull-ups or whatever, so do that. Even if, but as I said, mentality, it's more important in that essence, because no matter, you could perhaps make slightly faster progress on one path as opposed to another based on, some data, right? And maybe it's actually like 100% true. But you don't need to adhere to that. Adhere to yourself and try new things. If you listen to yourself, if you listen to your body, what your body likes, it's going to make you still want to work out. You don't want to just do all exercises that you hate. So if you enjoy a certain exercise, but someone tells you this might work better, try that exercise. And even if it does work better, but you don't like it as much, maybe just do the other one. I mean, like people say dumbbell pressing is sometimes better for overall chest development because you have more of an extension in the back. Your elbows can come down more. You can break a further plane. And yeah, that sounds about right. That sounds true. But I so much rather prefer the bench press because I can load more weight. It's a compound lift, and I simply just like to look at the number go up. But don't hurt yourself. Ego lifting is fine, sort of. Um, if you want to press more weight, if you understand the form and you know when you're doing too much, you can ego lift. So I think what I mean by that is some people think when people do really low reps or they do a 1 rep max, that's ego lifting. There may be ego involved, but it actually does promote progress and muscle development. So be careful when you are going to do something like that. Like if you can deadlift 200 pounds, don't try to deadlift 400. Maybe try 215, 225 with a warm up and understand the movement pattern and understand your body. I can give a prime example of when I actually ego lifted to success. When I had first starting deadlifting, which I actually have taken a break from because I'd never really deadlifted before. I started at 245. In a month or two, I was at 315, and I got 315 straight back and everything, but I felt immense amounts of pressure on my lower back when I lifted it up, and I felt like I should have set it down, but I didn't because I knew if I kept yanking and heaving, it would come up, and it did, and it looked fine. I have a video of it, but it put my back out of whack for like 2 weeks. I don't know if I herniated a disc or pulled a muscle, but I had to recuperate myself from that, readjust. So always be careful with that sort of thing. So main things are, if you want to gain weight, eat more. Be consistent. Use proper form. If you want to cut, I'll go into that a little bit. Don't drop too much food. Eat maybe 500 calories less, but make sure you're getting enough protein in. They say a pound of protein per body weight works well, but just do as much as you can. I mean, especially if you're just getting into it, it's not going to matter as much. Like, a person that eats 1,000 calories a day. Like if you have two people, they both eat 1,000 calories a day, exact same physical makeups, right? And one of them does a training program and the other doesn't, and neither of them have lifted weights in their entire life. The one that did the program is going to be stronger and more developed than this other guy that didn't, even though his changes were only the act of working out. But it obviously, that's only a temporary fix. You can't just, be like, oh, I'm lifting weights and that's it. It's gonna make me progress. It is, but only to an extent. You need to change what you're eating, or take steroids. Don't do that, or do that if I would suggest only doing something like that if your career path is in line with trying to win an Olympia or being like a very professional, well-known bodybuilder. So be careful with that sort of thing. And there's a lot of information on the internet. I mean, I guess I'm kind of being a hypocrite here saying to trust me, but I hope you trust what I've said. Good form, learn form, make sure you're learning it in a correct place. Think about it for yourself. Think, does this make sense? Does it hurt when I'm using the form someone else showed me? Make sure you're doing it the correct way. Be consistent and eat pertaining to your goals. And have fun with it. And there's a lot of information out there, so be careful with that sort of. Don't look into it too much. So that's it. I won't go too much into it. Thank you for listening to the Mental Crusade in the Nexus, and I'll see you.